I'm going to turn it over to Charlie.
Thank you very much.
All right, Charlie.
Thank you. To be successful online, from my perspective, you need to do three things. You need to get found, you need to engage, and then you need to follow up. And so that's exactly what I help people do. I help people get found online, engage through video, and then build profitable automated follow-up systems. Emphasis on profitable. Because most of us fall down when it comes to that follow-up. You know, we spend all that time trying to generate the traffic. The traffic comes in, we have the initial contact with somebody, and then boom, we get busy. And nothing else happens with it. So I like to say to people that I'm not a videographer. I'm a video marketer who uses video as his primary tool. And that's what you're going to see today. So that's what Charlie the marketer is. Yes, I have a theater background. We have 5 generations of my family in the same local theater. So I think it's that early training that sets me apart. It's not the MBA from Wharton. It's not the sales records that I have. It really is that time as a kid. And one of the favorite stories that I have when I was a kid was at 11 years old. I'd been in the theater since I was 6 in my first production. But at 11 years old, there was a director at this theater whose job was to invent VHS tape. So he would bring all this VHS tape. That was when a home machine was about 37 pounds like this, and you used to take it from reel to reel and put it through, and then, okay? And we would do 3 camera pickups of the rehearsals. Johnny, please don't put your hand up like this on that line. Charlie, I don't put my hand up there. Johnny, you see that right there in the video? Your hand's up right now. Oh, okay. Now I understand what you mean. So we would record rehearsals and then play them back for the cast. So at 11, I'm directing 3 camera pickups. I have a 3 camera pickup going on right now in this room. You're going to see that's one of the lessons from today. You can't use it again if you don't record it. So this was supposed to take place back in January. Anybody remember the snows of January, the snows of February? Let's hope we don't have any more, huh?
Trying to forget.
Trying to forget those. So I had promised at that time that I would have 3 simple ways to create video, and I didn't think that was fair if we were coming in late. I thought maybe we ought to have a few more, so I decided to make that 5 simple ways to create video. All right? So we're going to do that. I'm going to ask you sometimes to get on your feet and help me. I'm going to ask those brave enough who want to participate in a video to join me up here and record them. If you could do me a favor and pass those out. If you're part of a video with me, if you'd give me some additional information, then I can actually use that video to help you get found online when I do it later. Okay? All of this that I'm doing today will be put into one solid video. Whether or not the other pieces make it into individual ones depend on what we do with it and the information that you give me. Okay? So 5 simple ways to do that. I want to tell you a little story. I discovered on Twitter a place called Dad 2.0 Summit. I'm a recent granddad. To know me is to love my grandchildren. If you follow me at all on Facebook, you see a lot of things about So I'm trying to get more into the dad space and then create the granddad space out of the dad space. So I went down to New Orleans. But I discovered this and tripped over it. We've all got that little part in our brain, the limbic system, for those of you who know the brain. And that's the part that says, this just doesn't feel right. It can't put things into words. Well, that part of my brain exploded when I tripped over these people. It said, this is what you must do. So within 3 hours, I had signed up, I had gotten my hotel, and I had my plane reservation to go to this conference. And I thought, how can I help them get more people to this conference? And wouldn't it be nice if I could speak at the conference? But they didn't know me. So what did I do? I created 34 videos on different speakers that were already going to appear at the conference. And I put those videos out. I didn't have to write the guys that I did the videos on, and women. They discovered them. And they would start writing, hey, that was really nice. Wow, isn't that a nice thing for you to do? Then the people would come on from Dad 2 Summit, and they would say, oh, maybe you ought to speak at the conference. Really? Don't throw me in that briar patch. Yeah, great. Okay? So I'm going to show you some of what I did to do that, because everybody here can do it. Can you do it to the level that I've done it? Maybe not right up front. It doesn't have to be green screen. It doesn't have to be fancy stuff. But I'm going to show you some of that. So I started from nowhere with these people. I'd never heard of them. They never heard of me. And I became a speaker at the end of January, beginning of February. And I'm going to show you a little bit about that. So 5 simple ways to create videos. We're going to define what some of those types are, and then we're going to create some of them. If you're willing, if you're helpful, if you'll join me. So, the first, and what I think is the simplest way to create a video. Who can answer what this is? Get someone
Else.
Say it again?
Else
to create it for you. Isn't that the simplest way? Get somebody else to do it for you. That's the first one. People often forget that one. Oh, I got to do video. I don't know what to do video. How do I put the camera up? Get someone else to do it for you. That's number 1. How about number 2? Slides and
Videos?
music.
say it loudly.
Videos?
You're creating videos. So how can we do a simple video?
Audio.
I'm going to say slides and voiceover, but yes, audio. Okay? So you never have to appear on screen. You don't have to worry, oh no, I'm here on a video camera, right? You never have to worry about that. Slides and voiceover. Okay? That's the second simplest way to do it. The third way, I would say, what's the third way? Third way, according to this.
Record as you speak.
Yeah, what am I doing right now? I'm just getting up and talking. Right? I'm not worrying about those video cameras. Now, I happen to have 3 of them running. There's a 4th one running here also from the meetup. Because I'm going to be captured by this. I don't have to worry about it. Until I have to go back and then make it into a video. And sometimes I say, how did I step out of the frame there? I really didn't mean to do that. But that's what happens on a live presentation. Can I use this information to multiply my efforts if I don't record it? No, I've done it in front of 30 people and then it dies. So now this can live forever on the internet, right? So we want to record as we talk. So if nothing else, hang a lav on yourself and do audio when you get up and speak. You get up and speak in front of the Rotary Club. You get up and speak in front of a meetup. I had a buddy say to me with about 10 minutes presentation, preparation on my part, I need you to speak tonight on YouTube marketing. Could you do that? Yeah, sure. I wrote a few notes down. I took out my recording studio in my pocket and turned on record, not video record, because I wasn't going to stand there like this the entire night or have somebody else do it. And I did an audio. So that's up there now as a podcast. Okay? Real important. You can't use it if you don't record it. I used to say you can't use it if you don't shoot it. I heard myself say to my wife one day, I'm going over to the middle school to shoot some children. I have never used the verb with photography since. Right? I always photograph. What am I supposed to say? And I never say, the one that really gets me is film. Oh, let's film some videos today. No, we're recording videos. We haven't used film in a long time. That verb does not work anymore. Just my pet peeve. Number 4, get someone to
Record. Watch you. Record.
Interview.
interview you. Hi, I'm Charlie.
Hi, Charlie. How are you? Nice to meet you.
What's your name?
Kevin.
Kevin. Do you think you and I could just sit here and we could chat for a little bit?
We could try.
And have a little conversation?
Sure.
Okay? That's the sort of thing we're going to do. I don't know whether I was on camera with Kevin or not, but maybe he'll be brave enough to come up with me, because that's one of the ones we're going to do. Get someone to interview you. I grew up in the suburbs, not too far from here. We had a backyard fence. We would go up and talk to the neighbor across the backyard fence. That's really what Facebook and a lot of the other social media is doing for us today. However, if every time I walked up to that backyard fence, I said to my neighbor, buy my crap, do you think the neighbor would keep coming up? The neighbor would run away. So unfortunately, online, too often, that's what people are doing. They're saying, buy my crap all the time, as opposed to the social part of that. So it's easy to sit and chat with somebody. Okay? So that's what I'm saying on that one. And this one you may not get. Create a series with bumpers. I'm going to show you what I mean. That's what I did with 34 videos. They were not all uniquely created. There were sections of it that I could use over and over again. I want to show you that. It doesn't mean necessarily because this is number 5, this is the most difficult one, but it's easy to get into series of videos. I have a number of series. Lessonsfrommygrandson.com is an entire series, week after week after week. There are other things that I have as series. Power marketing lessons. Do you know? The reason I went with do you know is I can say, do you know Skip? Do you know how to do video? Do you know when the sun shines it does this, that, right? So do you know can be a lot of things. So I've got a number of series that I can do, and I have segments of all of those within each of those that I want to do. So here's a little video that I would call, that's a summary of some attention grabbers. Attention grabbers are those videos that are designed to stop people in their tracks and get them to pay attention to you. These can be for a product or service, an upcoming event, or as a pattern interrupt in a whole video series. Attention grabbers. We want someone to notice us. What do we call that at the end? That's a call to action. You're going to find out that's always what my last bumper is, a call to action. No sense just putting stuff out there and not telling people to do something. So we always will have a call to action on what's going on here. Okay, YouTube has recently started what they call fan finders. This just happens to be one fan finder for one of my channels. I have a number of channels. You'll see if it... Charlie the Marketer. Okay, so he's an MBA from Wharton, but he's also a video-crazed marketer. Come, learn more about it. Charlie Seymour Jr. is Charlie the Marketer. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so you get every video as it comes out. I think that was 18 seconds or something like that. These do not have to be massive things, and in fact you don't want them to be much of the time. And they specifically tell you in these fan finders, which is fairly recent for them, that they want them to be fairly short. That's somebody's phone ringing.
Sorry about that.
That is not mine. I did not set that phone off. I didn't do it. Okay. Here's a summary of some interviews. This just shows you what some interviews can look like. It isn't tough to figure out what an interview can look like. Interviews are the easiest way for people to get their information across and then get it distributed throughout the internet. All people have to do is talk with me as I record it. It's also a great way to write blog posts by transcribing the interview or even a book. Notice how relaxed most people are in these interviews. And none of them is a professional guest, only a business person, a professional, clergyman, and more. Again, ending with a call to action. So, an interview. The interesting thing about interviews is that people have gotten used to seeing Oprah and other people interview people. You don't interview somebody who's not important. It just isn't done. So you're automatically elevated if you're the one being interviewed. Why are they spending time interviewing him? Well, that's why. Okay? And with question and answer going back and forth, and again, as we were talking earlier today, these are ones and zeros. We don't like it, we throw it away. We edit it out. Okay? All right. So, how to build a series with bumpers. I'd like to have a couple of volunteers come up here. You are not being recorded. Just come up. I need 4 people. First 4 people to come up here. I'm just going to show you what I mean with bumpers. Yeah, come on up. You're here. You stand on the end, please. Stand in here. Yeah, just move on. Okay. I'm going to show you what I mean by bumpers. Normally, I talk about bumpers like bumpers on a car. The series that I'm going to do here, I'm going to change that slightly, but it started that same way. Okay? So you are going to say something like, have you met Sally James? Come on in, meet Sally James. Okay? Yeah, okay?
Right now?
So that's what you know, but when I get there, okay? And you're just going to say, do you know? More from Charlie.
Okay.
All right? Now, you're going to say anything you want to about Sally James. Give me about 10 seconds of something about Sally James. And you're going to say, if you'd like to get involved with these interviews, contact Charlie. Everybody have the assignment?
Yep.
Okay? Now, who are the bumpers here? 2 and 4. Normally, I'd put it out front. But why am I doing it this way this time? Because if I do a whole series of these and they all start off with the bumper, they all look exactly the same. So I want you to know this is the one about Sally James. So that's what we're doing. Go.
Have you met Sally James? Come on in and learn more about Sally James.
Do you know? More from Charlie.
Sally James was my 8th grade math teacher.
If you'd like to get involved in these interviews, contact Charlie.
All right, very good. Okay, now, you two sit down. Let me have 2 other people, please. 2 other people, come on, just jump up. Come on, come on. Come on, we're going to be interactive. All right, we're going to keep the blood flowing here. Take their places, please.
One person. Size order?
I thought I saw somebody else coming up. Come on. All right, good. Stand in here, please. All right, we're going to do Tom Johnson. Do you know anything about Tom Johnson? You're going to give me about 10 seconds about Tom Johnson. You're going to do basically the same thing. Ready? Go.
Do you know Tom Johnson? Do you know? More from Charlie.
Tom Johnson started his life as a coal miner, and now he's a technology giant.
If you'd like to get involved in these interviews, contact Charlie.
Okay, now, let me show you what we just did. You saw that all I did was replace 2 of them. The other 2 were exactly the same. So when we get to that later tonight, and we will do that fairly soon, we're only going to record these 2 parts. I'm going to introduce whoever the person is, and then the person's going to say something about him or herself. Because I've already got those 2 parts that I call bumpers. Got it? They're the parts that keep repeating over and over again from series to series that keep it going. All right? Thank you all. Thank you, all 6 of you, for participating. Wasn't as tough as it might have been, right? There'll be a quiz later on what bumpers are, and this does get a little more difficult as we go. But that's how we build a series with bumpers. My lessons from my grandson always starts with the same pre-roll, basically 10 seconds of stuff. And even for me, when I want to see episode 52 versus episode 37, I don't know what the heck it is until I get into it. It's one of the reasons I'm going this way. But it's also a little like News at 11. Train crash down by the school. News at 11. That's really what this first section's doing. It's saying, are you interested in Sally James? Let's get involved. And then this says what the whole series is about. Then we talk about her. Then we say, okay, here's the call to action. All right? That's what we're doing there. Okay, so how did I do this with the DAD 2.0 Summit? This is a summary video of the segments of what I did to show you how I did it with all of that. Recognize that part? That's a bumper. What is DAD 2 Summit? Well, I'll tell you, within 3 hours of my discovering it, I was doing some Twitter work. That's also really a bumper. And I came across this. And within 3 hours, I had already booked the hotel, I had gotten my airline ticket, and I bought a ticket into the conference. This is an annual conference to change the perception of and the online abilities of those that are working dads that are sharing their information online. Is that you? Hey, we granddads count in that too. Always need a call to action. Go ahead. Go over to dad2summit.com. Find out about this summit and join us there. I look forward to seeing you there. Just a little subtle commercial about myself. Find me there.
Did you see that?
So this is the
mustache
beginning.
Aficionado Andy 2
Before
is
the
going to
bumper.
speak at Dad 2 Summit. Come, learn more.
You don't want 34 of them to be exactly the same.
Did you see that former sports reporter Carter Gaddis is going to speak to Dad 2 Summit? Did you see that Jim Higley of BobbleheadDad.com is going to speak to Dad 2 Summit? It's true. Did
Little
you see
humor
that
helps.
Jill Johnson
Very little
Becky,
humor, but the
she's
humor
the
helps.
founder and CEO of Mom It Forward Media. She's speaking at Dad 2 Summit in New Orleans. Did you see that Emmy-winning writer Laura Mays is going to speak at Dad 2 Summit? Did you see that Marcus D. Benjamin is going to speak at Dad 2 Summit in New Orleans? Whoa! Nathan Engels of WeUseCoupons.com is speaking at Dad 2 Summit. Did you see that Mike Adamick is going to speak at Dad 2 Summit in New Orleans? It's true. Come on, learn more. Did you see that Peter Shankman is going to speak at Dad 2 Summit? He's not just going to speak, he's going to headline. Did you see that Tom Riles is going to speak at Dad 2 Summit? It's true. Well, he's going to have us laughing there anyway. Come on, learn more about him.
And here's the call to action for this. So my hope is that you recognized the segments of that. And you saw that the opening for each of the guys doesn't have to be done the same way. Yeah, it took a little creativity. I'm going, oh, what do I do now? What about this guy? Tom Riles, the one where I was laughing, happens to be the warm-up person for the Ellen DeGeneres show. He was quite funny. Okay, so now it's time to create some videos. So we're going to see who's got the chutzpah to come up here and join me, who wants to do this, and who doesn't. So the first one that I would say is a bit, yes?
Charlie, first I wanted to ask about the Dad 2 Summit. Did you create 32 separate videos?
34 separate videos.
4 separate videos?
Correct.
And then each one was then optimized for that speaker?
Each one is optimized for that speaker. Each one is syndicated throughout the internet in at least 10 different locations. Each one had a Twitter campaign all built around that one. So that by the time we got close to that conference, thank you for the question, if you searched anything to do with that person's name and mentioning the conference, my video was always number one.
Right. Okay.
Number one. And this was within 4 weeks to get there. Because it's optimized for that, right? They didn't have too many videos saying that they were speaking. And when I load out there 10 different locations where they can do it, and Twitter campaigns, and my own blog site, I went to town on this. Yeah, question.
Are there any questions about copyright or privacy where you're actually using their name or anything and making videos that they haven't approved?
Okay, I will say that there was, thank you, are there any copyright problems? I had one guy after the whole thing was done, came back to me and asked me would I take the video down. Because my video was outdrawing all of his videos. And that's the reason. I used information that came from the site that they had already given, and I got the other information from their websites, all the backgrounds that you saw of me running in and all that kind of stuff. I'm not an attorney. I don't play one on the internet. I'm not saying that everybody else should go necessarily and do it this way. Do I think any of them would really give me problems? No. Because I'm publicizing them. It's a technique for everybody to think about, okay? I've got some people that I want to get to know. One of the things I'm going to do, I started this, and I call these OCMD, Ocean City, Maryland videos. I went down with my former business partner. We were going down to a conference, and we did the exact same thing before we got down to this conference in Ocean City, Maryland. We created videos of the speakers. And as we're walking in the day before, and the guy has one of those mail carts, and he's pushing equipment around, we walk in the door to see what this conference space is like. I didn't know where it was. See what it looked like. He goes, You did a video about me. Yes, Chuck, I did. And he was thrilled. And we walk in already and they know us. How many of those guys do you think at Dad 2 Summit with 250 people there knew who I was when I walked in? A fair number of them. Not all of them, but a fair number of them. So that, okay? All right, so what I want to do, this is a fairly difficult one. Who's able to stand? You know, often you'll go to a meeting and you'll do a 30-second elevator speech. And I want you to come up and do it, and I want you to talk right into that camera and do a 30-second elevator speech, and then we'll talk about it. Who's going to do that? You want to do it? Yeah, come on up. Do it. Come on. Join me.
Can I bring my card?
No.
Oh, no? Okay. I was gonna...
You're talking to a camera.
Okay.
This camera will not pick you up if you're going over there, but that camera will. Step in here so that your head does not go past the top of the camera. You're fine. The lighting is horrible, but that's the room that we're in. Step back just a little bit. And you can talk to this entire table here, too. Okay? You don't have to focus just there, but you have 30 seconds to tell them who you are, what you do, why they should be interested in you. Go.
So my name's Nathan. I am the CEO and founder of smallbizphilly.com. And what was I going to say? Okay, so smallbizphilly.com is a one-stop shop for all things small business in Philadelphia. And I write about small businesses in Philadelphia, so that's why you should work with me, because I'll give you free publicity.
Okay, so let me ask you, round of applause, because, you know, it takes a little energy to be able to get up there and do that. Is that easy to do and stand there in front of a camera that way? Is that the easiest way that I have for us to do that? No, I think that's probably one of the most difficult ways, right? That thing, you don't see a tally light on this, the little light coming right at you. You would see it on these that are blinking at you here. But people get nervous. Thank you. You can sit down. Thank you. Thing I want to remind you is there are ones and zeros. You just throw them away if you don't like it. The more you do it, the easier it's going to get. Okay? So that was standing and talking right into the camera. Not one that I often recommend. The other thing that we want to know about camera placement is watch your local news. Anybody watch local news anymore? Okay, fine. You will see when they're interviewing people, they seldom stand here and look right into the camera. That's going right into somebody's brain. That's going and talking right to them. They often are off by 5 to 10 degrees this way, so that, the way we call it in theater, there's a fourth wall. The people at home are observing what's going on. You're not giving something right to them. So you can even sit there yourself and do a whole series of interviews. You can ask yourself the question. So where Bill is off about what I'm talking about versus this camera, okay? So Charlie, what do you think about the weather today? Pause. You know, I really think the weather is terrible, and right? So you can, then you just cut off the question you asked yourself. You can interview yourself that way. I wouldn't look right in the camera. I would look slightly off camera to do that. All right? I did a whole series, again, former business partner. We asked each other the questions. I was facing this way, he was facing that way, and I would just follow right up on him. I'm looking at the pole, he's looking at the other pole down in the recording studio. It looked like people were interviewing us. It didn't matter. A time like that. Okay, so let's go on beyond this 30-second elevator and do a Do You Know series with bumpers. You've already seen that series. It's the exact same one that we were doing. So there's an intro of the person. Then I flash up and go, do you know? Charlie Seymour Jr.'s Do You Know? Then there's the meat of what the interview is. And then there's the bumper call to action. Okay? Who would like to participate in that? You're up. Who would like to be my cameraman on this? You're up.
All right.
Thank you. It's not difficult. Again, for most of us, we have a recording studio in our pocket. 2 years ago this summer, when I got this phone, I was down at the shore, and I wanted to prove that I could do a whole video on this, and I did it of my grandson first going into the ocean. Now, one of the nice things is you can get close and you can record really close with this because the mic stinks in it, right? So you have this with you all the time, and you can do an interview with it. So all I'm going to do is turn the video on. The video is on here, and we're going to start with me. Okay? Tell me your name again.
Adam.
Adam. Okay. Last name. Do I want to use your last name?
No. Serlencion. Good foot.
Okay. So you're going to have to tell us about it because it's going to come to you, and then I'll take it back, and I'll show you what to do. But you're just making sure it's on me so that I can say, am I in any light at all where I am here?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're just going to make sure it's on me, okay? And just make sure your fingers aren't covered. All right, great. Do you know Adam? I think you really should get to know him. Come on, let's learn more about Adam. That's all we have to do for that beginning. That's it, right? Okay, so now we go here, and you can do it too. You can just kind of step up to Adam, and tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm an SEO consultant with Philly Marketing Labs.
Are you excited about the work you do?
Yes.
You want to show me that?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself.
I optimize people's websites so that they get better exposure online.
And where can we find you?
You can find us at phillymarketinglabs.com.
Thank you. Okay, so literally, thank you very much. Okay. Could we have done that a little better? We might have been able to do that a little better, a little more practice. Thank you, Adam. Yeah. Okay? So that's basically all we have to do. I could go around and do these 100 times a day. I have it in a way now that I can send the raw clips, the opening part and part 3, to my assistant in the Philippines to put those together for me. I don't even have to do anything with them. You fill out your sheet, you give me your information, I type it to him, and he puts it in there, and he'll put your name, right? So I can systematize what I'm doing with these, if I really want to do that, all right? I generally don't. I normally am involved very much with my own video work, but, okay, so I had my remote here somewhere. Here it is. Okay, so that's how we do those short videos. See what I'm doing? And you build your 2 bumpers so that you can just fit people into it. So you can do that about gardening. Do you know how Mary puts her garden together? Come on, you've got to learn more about what Mary does. Mary, what do you do to put your garden together? Mary tells you, and then off it goes. And you have a call to action that says, come to my website and learn more about putting gardens together. Okay? All right. Now we're going to have a little relaxed chat. Who would like to have a little relaxed chat with me? Who's brave enough? Just come up here and sit down. Who hasn't been here before?
I'll have a chat.
You want a cameraman again?
Sure.
Okay. We'll take this one and just keep that on about here on Skip, and I'll put it around so you can see it.
Okay.
So you can go fairly close to Skip if you want to, and I want to. I'll tell you what. Step back here so that I don't have you blocking that camera, and I'll zoom in a little bit, even though the lighting is dreadful in here for that. Okay, so just kind of keep him in the frame. Okay, so here we are. Here we go. Skip, how did you start your business?
Well, Charlie, you know, the business originally started with a focus on entrepreneurs. And over time, we started to work with larger businesses. We started to do more and more marketing for those entrepreneurs. And we found that mid-sized businesses really need a lot of help with their digital marketing as well.
What do you find is the most fun for you to do for them?
Well, for me, it always comes back to the mission. Our mission is about helping companies to adapt, engage, and thrive in the digital millennium. And in the digital marketplace, things are changing so quickly. Companies have an old school mentality, and they're looking for new ways to participate in the marketplace. So they have to break down communication barriers, they have to become more transparent, and we help them do that. Marketers are actually in a great position to help companies to adapt, engage, and thrive. And I love that.
Okay, see, we could go on for a long time. One of the techniques, thank you very much, I appreciate it. And thank you, Skip. One of the techniques that I really like to use now, I will sit with a client and have 20 questions about what's going on. And we'll sit for about an hour and we'll record that. Then I'll chop that up into each one of those little 20 segments, answering something about Skip's business. Then, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a bumper on the front, and I'm going to put a bumper call to action on the back. And so the one on the front is, just had this terrific interview with Skip. You're going to learn a lot about him, but stay tuned because I've got a special offer for you at the end. Then we hear about Skip in whatever that segment is that he's doing, and then the call to action is, go over here and get some free information about Skip, for which they give us their name and email address. Right? And they get some free information. It may be the rest of the videos. It may be the 7 steps to do marketing for the entrepreneur that he's got as a free white paper handout, whatever. Okay, see what we're doing? So it's a fairly relaxed way to do it. Did you feel fairly relaxed? I mean, you're kind of used to talking and being...
No, and I think once we got 2 or 3 questions in,
Yeah.
it would have been a lot easier. The first 1 or 2, you're a little stiff and nervous. So
Here's a secret. The first 1 or 2 generally are those you're going to throw away anyway for that reason.
yeah.
The first 1 or 2 questions you're going to throw away because you're not expecting him to be at his best at that point. Because eventually, without a person, and thank you again, holding the camera and the camera just sitting there, he's going to forget about it. We're just going to have a chat. You saw it earlier in the interviews where people were just talking with me. That's all they have to do is talk. We can all talk. We've been over the backyard fence. We have friends. We go to parties. We talk. What do people ask you about when you go to different meetings? That's what we do. That's what we talk about. Those are some easy ways for you to create some videos. If you would like to see what the follow-up system is that I use, you can go in and go to a demo of that, and you simply text to that phone number your first name. So in the to area, it's your phone number, and the message is nothing more than your first name. And you'll see some interactive going back and forth, and then you'll see the whole system of how I use videos in a follow-up system. There's no charge on this. It's like 3 days worth of stuff, and then it ends. And that's all you're going to get on it. So if you're interested in doing that, you can learn what that follow-up system is. And that's one of the ways only but one of the ways that we use video. So what other questions do we have at this point? Because that really is my presentation. I told you I wasn't going to take an hour. What else can I help you with now? What else is on your mind about video or marketing, video marketing?
Charlie, what kind of equipment is this?
Okay, very good question. What kind of equipment? The little one that's down here is one of my favorite cameras, but it's not the greatest of resolution. Those are GoPros. Okay, we had 2 of them running at one time. So if you see things on a surfboard, if you see inside a car in a police chase and you see the policeman driving here, that's probably a GoPro. That's the name of it, GoPro. Okay? The other 2 cameras that I happen to be using at the moment are under $300. They happen to be Canon cameras. What is one of the most important things that you must have with a camera like this? Who can tell me?
Tripod.
Well, the tripod is true as well, because it's clearly they're sitting on a tripod. But
Pop-out viewfinder.
how about sound directly into the camera? I've done some feature-length videos. Championship football team, for instance, the coach would, wearing this exact same microphone, would walk out to the middle of the field and he'd go, "Okay, fellas, we're going to throw." "No, we're not. We're going to run around the left end. I just want them to think we're going to throw." When your sound is better, people think your picture's better. Because there I am with a 3-chip camera and I'm going across the field capturing this guy, but the sound was so good, they felt I was right there. So this is not expensive camera. I also use some ZI-8s, but I don't have any. When I first started out in 2000, I probably spent $30,000 on equipment. 3-chip cameras. We don't need. My work goes on the internet. I'm not doing movies that you're going to go down to your 12-plex to see. Okay? So I happen to be recording in 1080p. I don't put it back out, except it's 720p. That's the largest that I happen to put it out with. But I do it with high def these days.
What is that, 1080p?
I'm sorry?
It's 1080p.
Well, it's just a designation of how many lines of resolution that are there. If you don't understand, it doesn't really matter at this point. Right? I mean, I could get into it being progressive and all that kind of stuff, but...
Charlie, you mentioned your audio. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Of how I'm recording the audio?
What is? I mean, I've never had any experience with any kind of portable audio.
Okay. This is a very expensive system that I happen to be using right now. It's not what I always use if I have more people, but I will tell you of 3 different ways to do it. This is a Sony wireless system that I bought in the early 80s and was like $1,300 right then. This is broadcast quality. I'm out there doing a football game one day and I'm hearing the other football team on my camera. And I went to them and I said, one of us has to change, and you know how to do it much more easily than I do unless you want to have all my audio in there. So this will do really, really well, okay? You can buy inexpensive systems in the VHF, the very high frequency range, for a couple $100 with 1 or 2 microphones, and you plug right in. So if you look at this camera, hanging underneath the camera is the receiver for that. That's not a cell phone. It's a receiver for that, and it's plugged directly in there. This is having nothing plugged directly into it, nor is the GoPro. So I will use that as my audio channel primarily, unless there's a real screw up at sometimes. Now, You can use this other system that you could have a handheld. I also have, and I carry them with me all the time, ones that plug in. I could plug directly into 2 different cameras. I could plug into 2 into 1 camera, and they're wired. So if we were going to sit here this same way, generally, I would wire us. Wiring is always safer than transmitting. You get some interference, you hear some airplane, whatever the heck it turns out to be, you don't want to have that. So wired, you're always going to, and these are like $17 a piece, if the wired ones. The difficulty with them, as I walk out of frame, but I'm going over to pick up what I've got. What do I have that bag? The bag is here. The difficulty with these is that they have button batteries in them, and you really can't tell when they're about to go dead on you, but they're very inexpensive. They're really very inexpensive. And that's all the more it is. The battery sits in here. It plugs directly into the camera. And as I'm wearing here, it's got a clip-on lav. It's very, very simple.
And you can do dual channel?
Dual channel into there. You can either do one on either channel, which means if you're listening on a headset, the voices are going to go back like this, or you blend them together. Yeah. Now, if I'm in my studio, I have a mic with a big diaphragm, and it sits there on the floor, and it picks up everything I'm doing in the studio, and I don't worry about it. So that's another way with sound, too. But if I'm coming out to something like this, I don't want to rely on the microphones within the cameras. The only thing I rely the microphone in the GoPro is so that it will sync for me when I use my editing software, which is Final Cut Pro X is what I use. You can do it on iMovie. You can do it on a lot of different things too. Good questions. Other questions? Yeah.
I noticed that you're using green screen. What's involved in order to do that?
Okay. Green screen, I have a full TV studio at home. You don't need a full TV studio at home. But I happen to have one because I've just been in this for a while. Okay. So I've got a flat screen behind me, and I'm normally close. Some people are talking about, oh, they got to get this paper thing that's the infinite one, and it curls underneath. Well, only if you're going to show all the way down to your feet. TV is a very close medium. If I could stand here all the time on this camera, I would do that. But that's not what I'm able to do when I'm in a situation like this. So you have to make sure it's lit, you're separated from it, you're lit, so that it can be removed by your software. Most of the software these days will remove chroma key, which can be any color really, but primarily they'll go with green or blue. If there's a cast on it that you still see a little bit of a halo of it, it's a little nicer to see blue than it is green, but most of the time it comes out. And you saw me use some of that there when I was going in and out of different things. I primarily use it all the time at this point because it's so easy for me to drop something else behind it. I can drop wood behind me, I can drop somebody's website behind me, I can drop an image behind me, I can drop video behind me, whatever I want to do. Other questions? Bill?
When you were doing it, you said I'll have an offer at the end of the video. And I know you track these things. What percentage do people get to the end of the video when you get that kind of a call to action?
On the one where I was saying if you go to skip and then I'm going to...
I'm sure you've used it a number of times. I'm just wondering what the...
I get a fair number of sign-ins. I mean, I can't tell you I can't tell you that I put it out 100 times and I'm getting 98% of them. I don't know what the stats are that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know that. But I also put an awful lot of them out there, so... They're going to find
percentages of sign-ins. You know, if it's over 1%, it'd be good.
Oh, I'm sure it's over 1%. Yeah, I don't know that it's over 25%, but I think it's over 1%. Yeah.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
I noticed you didn't mention webcam for any reason.
Yeah, I don't like the quality of webcam. I will say this though. See, once mainstream starts with something. Like Twitter, doing a lot of things. We were talking earlier about Twitter. I went to Dad 2.0 Summit, and every single one of the sponsors had Twitter accounts at their name as well as their hashtags. And I thought, oh my Lord, Cottonelle and Jamba Juice and all these are using Twitter like this? And every single one of the dads, except maybe me, had their Twitter name on their card. It will be on my next card. Okay, give me your question again, because I just went off on that tangent. Sorry. Webcam.
Is that one way?
Yeah, and this is where I was going with webcam. Once mainstream starts to use something, you can get away with it. So once national news started to show people on Skype, you can get away with it. Right? Skip. How are you in Alaska? Charlie, I'm doing fine in Alaska. Okay, well, right? You can get away with it. Is it as good quality as this? Let's say Skip is in Alaska right now, and we're going to do an interview with him. I might Skype with him, but I might ask him to put his own camera on him, maybe off 5 or 10 degrees, so he could record himself answering me on Skype, but then send me the better quality that I could then use within it. But you can get away with Skype because you see it on national news these days. So I don't use webcam in my professional work, but I use Skype a lot. Yeah.
So you could do it, but it just won't look that professional.
Right. And these days in Skype, you can get a recorder built right in. That every time you open it up, it just records it, and you can do it in high def, or you can do it much lower than that. So you can save those pretty easily these days.
Second question was, a couple of us were going to get together and do a video series, and we were trying to figure out whose site to put it on, because you can't put it on each person's site.
Why?
I guess you could put the whole series. Does it matter? I mean, in terms of.
All right.
I don't know. I wasn't sure.
Here's one of the ways that I would do it if I were going to do something like that. Let's say
people are partnering on a series.
Let's say the three of you are partnering on a series. Okay. I would start it off on YouTube, and then I would embed that in each one of your websites.
So put on a YouTube channel?
Yeah. Create a channel on the topic area.
Okay.
Now, if you each have your own channel, it gets a little more difficult that way. But do you know that you can put in your playlist from any channel anywhere? You can do it by URL. So if you put it on Adam's site, you can build a playlist on your site and still include that video. So someone can come to your channel, see your playlist, and play that video somewhere else. Another point on playlists, for those of you that have any idea what I'm talking about on playlists, Google treats a playlist the way it treats a separate video. It indexes it. And if you're tied into Twitter, every video you add into that playlist sends out a separate Twitter announcement that you just added it in there. So you get extra benefits coming from that.
So just to be sure I understand, so you're saying everybody can put the videos on their own site, but then, or their own YouTube channel or their own site, and then make it a playlist?
You can make your own playlists on your own sites.
On your own site.
So they go to your site and see that playlist. See, to me, video is much more important and impressive out in the internet helping to draw people to you than it is simply on your own site. I'm not saying don't put video on your site, but so many people create video, put it on their site, and then they're disappointed that nobody sees it. Well, yeah, it's not out there when people are typing into the Oracle Google, how do I fix my sore shoulder? Well, they're not going to find your site with that, but they will find the video that's... Does that help you?
I think so.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
So in that respect, when you add a playlist of another person's or another company's YouTube channel, are there attributions you have to give or citation? Or
No. For instance, we created a video which I have played a number of times called Toilet Paper Valet. If you want to see another side of me, and yes, I do mean that side of me, you can go to toiletpapervalet.com. They didn't want us to have that. They didn't quite understand the power of some of this. They only wanted to have it on their own channel and their own site. But I can assure you it's in the playlists of some of the videos that I've done because it's pretty damn creative. You saw a little section of it there. But literally, I'm running around after the Hallelujah chorus and I explode after too many burritos and the cats have taken away all the toilet paper. That's what the video's all about. I mean... Okay, because Toilet Paper Valet sends you toilet paper without your having to ask for it, so it's always there. It's a real product. Check it out. But it's in okay? Other questions before we wrap up?
Yeah,
I know we're taking a lot of time.
You probably take one more.
Yep.
I noticed that, I don't know, the video is sort of like the hand.
I do.
What is that, software that you use?
Correct. And there are a number of different ones that you can get that will do that.
Can you name one of them?
Yeah, if it jumped to my mind right away, which is always a fun time for me. But you can find it. Just go for whiteboard video and search that, and you'll find different ones that will tell you how to do that. Okay? And you put the words in, and it will draw it with different hands depending on what you want to do. Yeah. And use it kind of sparingly. Sometimes, see, you can tell more than one story in a video. You can tell it with the picture. You can tell it with the music track. You can tell it with the words that you put on there. You can tell it with the voiceover. And I find that another way to do it is with that handwriting, which is something, because sometimes I'll use the handwriting making fun of what I said. Really, this is a very serious time for us to do this. Oh, he thinks he's so serious. Right? You can write it on there like that's what I'm thinking. It's another way to tell part of the story. All right. Thank you. I'll be around for a while. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you.
Really enjoyed that.
Thank you very
I think it was very informative. I think everybody got some good stuff.